Hi guys, welcome to Nutrition Bites. Jack here, and today I'm just going to quickly talk about carbohydrates and fat loss, and whether or not you can manipulate your carbs to improve fat loss, to increase fat loss, sorry. And I just want to start by explaining kind of the process, which I'm sure you heard about, where people say if you have carbs, if you have sugar, you increase insulin, okay? And this kind of insulin, this hormone, it prevents lipolysis, or what that is just kind of fatty acids leaving the fat cell, which is true, okay? So if you do spike insulin, this does stop. However, this is just a very kind of small way of looking at things, because on a micro level, this is true, but we need to look at things over the whole day, okay? And the thing with insulin, it only kind of, its half-life is about 10 minutes. So even once we do spike it, after about 15 minutes, it starts reducing. And then what happens is you can start releasing fatty acids again. And that's kind of the one thing you need to think about. And the second thing is your fatty acids still get back into the fat cells, even though you've kind of produced this insulin. So even if you said to yourself, right, I'm not going to have any carbohydrates, I'm not going to have any sugars, you're going to have a higher percentage of fatty acids in the bloodstream because you're having a high intake of kind of fat or dietary fat. And this is going to go into the fat cells, even though there's not as many kind of leaving. And this is why this is the reason why you have to look at the overall day, okay? You've got to look at that kind of the net effect, the fat flux, how much fat is leaving the cells and how much is going in over that whole 24 hours. It's going to be undulating. There's going to be times at night when it's coming out, and there's going to be times when you have kind of carbohydrate, sugar, or even protein, okay, when insulin is raised and fatty acids are not leaving. And this is the other point about kind of protein. People who say, oh, I don't have any sugars, but insulin is kind of spiked from just on protein alone, okay, so it's like a whey shake. And this again, it just shows how this kind of hypothesis about insulin causing fat storage is almost just false. And the other thing as well, bear with me here, it's important to understand, is just because you release the fatty acids from the fat cells, it doesn't mean they're being burnt, it doesn't mean they're being used, they can still go back in. It has to go through another process of oxidation or burning or beta oxidation, okay? And for this, again, we need that bigger energy demand than the body needs to lose weight, okay? So again, it goes back to energy balance. Go back to lecture 1 if you haven't looked at it already. If you're taking in less than food than you need, okay, this energy is going to have to be used. These fatty acids are going to have to be used. They'll be drawn out eventually, and they're going to be used, and it means you're going to reduce your fat cells and you're going to lose weight, okay? So you really have to start thinking about how sugar itself is not kind of the enemy. However, just because I'm saying that, I'm not saying they're fantastic. And this is what I hate about these industries sometimes, is that this kind of like false dichotomy where if I say that carbs are okay, it means that I must say that cake's fine, biscuits are fine, pasta parties are okay, bread all right. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is be sensible. And in a lot of cases, a low-carb diet can actually be very effective, especially from a therapeutic standpoint. So if people are kind of pre-diabetic, they are insulin resistant, then lowering kind of carbohydrates can help. Even from a performance standpoint, this is definitely another topic for a day because it's so big, but you can get a lot more adaptation from training in a low-carb environment. But that's not to say that you should perform on low carbs, okay? Because we also know that carbohydrates is what our body wants. When you're performing a lot of high intensity exercise, say HIIT training, CrossFit, rugby, intermittent sports, you need carbohydrates, okay? I think the other thing as well is that with carbohydrates is that if you do tend to kind of restrict kind of carbohydrates, you automatically get a little bit of a benefit, because can you think of a junk food which doesn't kind of contain sugar? Most likely not, okay? So it's just a very easy way to kind of remove junk food. It's also very palatable, so you tend to eat it a lot more, or it doesn't keep you as say full as things like proteins and fats. So again, on the other hand, if you just kind of reduce kind of your carbohydrate, you automatically reduce kind of your calorific intake. So in effect, it does kind of help you lose weight. Then on the flip side, if you go too low for too long, it can ruin your gut lining, which is massively important. It can reduce kind of your thyroid function, and it can actually lead to insulin resistance as well. However, kind of it's a bit of an oxymoron there, but it can actually do that too. I think the point I'm making here is you've just got to be sensible, okay? And start in the middle ground. Start by just going for, again, if you haven't watched that video on carbohydrates already, check that out. Start with kind of 2 meals per day, okay? If you're a man, go for 2 cups of carbs. If you're a woman, aim for kind of 1 kind of handful of carbs, per portion. And then use that as a starting point, and then alter it depending on how you're getting on. So if you start kind of losing weight, keep doing what you're doing. If you feel that you're not losing weight, then you're probably going to have to take some calories from somewhere first. Initially, you would evenly take them from somewhere, but then you might want to take a few of those carbs away. Likewise, if you're not sleeping very well, if your energy is being affected, if your strength training is being affected, then it's most likely you're not having enough carbohydrates in your diet, and that's when you might want to look to increase them. Okay, so it's very much start this. Well, this is my belief. You start in the middle of the road and adjust accordingly. Are there differences in people? 100% yes. Some people are more carb tolerant, okay, than others, produce more amylase, for example, so you can deal with a lot more. And with these types of people, you can kind of push those carbs quite high. But on the other side of the spectrum, there's definitely people who don't need as many. So are you the kind of person when you have carbohydrates you get really tired, really lethargic? And you need to start kind of making notes of these things that do happen. And this is why I can never give just a blanket approach to you should do this, you should do that. Because nutrition is so subjective, it's so context dependent, and it really is dependent on the individual and your goal. So keep an open mind, start with the basics, start with the really obvious points, and don't eat loads of shit. Oh sorry, I shouldn't be swearing on that. Don't eat loads of rubbish, okay? Eat kind of good quality types of food with high fibre that keeps you full for longer. And don't eat loads of processed junk which are going to spike sugar levels, make you want more. It's not going to help you keep you full, and it's going to automatically hinder kind of your progress. I've gone on a tangent, I always do, but I think the point I'm making is carbs aren't the enemy, but just use your head, okay? Don't eat loads of rubbish. Start in the middle ground, adjust accordingly, okay, until you get the results you want. So if you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. Find me on social media, the links are all below. I've popped a couple of things in there as well. If you haven't got your Nutrition 101 guide, get that for free, okay? Again, the link's below. And check out urbanenergie.com if you're interested in any coaching options available. Until next time, stay healthy.